Hey everyone, and welcome back to my channel. This video is my review for the third episode of the final season of The 100, otherwise titled False Gods. I think this was the weakest of the 3 episodes we've had so far, and I don't know if it has to do with the fact that Kim Shamway wrote it, but I still enjoyed the episode. I liked how this was a really Raven-focused episode, because that's something we haven't really had in a while, even though I haven't particularly liked her recently. But as a result, Clarke was underused this episode, and it kind of felt like a filler episode. So the plot of the episode was that, as Clarke said at the end of the first episode, Russell had to be executed, but of course there was going to be conflict with that because of his followers, and as expected, Clarke did not want to go through with it. Meanwhile, Raven was making difficult choices as the planet was in danger of being destroyed again. So the episode started off with 2 characters that I don't think we've seen before, who were trying to prevent the planet from being destroyed by radiation yet again. I didn't care for them since we barely knew them, but they reminded me of Raven and Finn in the early seasons. I'm conflicted on how I felt about bringing back the whole radiation storyline. I like how they brought back elements that made it feel like the earlier seasons, but at the same time, it's been done before and in much better ways. Before, a threat like this would be something that loomed over them for a whole season, but now it was resolved in one episode. When we saw the couple die, they also reminded me of Maya, which is who I thought it was in the promo, which made me worried because I never liked her. Then we moved to Clarke and Gaia, who were having a funeral for Abby and the commanders who were lost when the flame was destroyed. Once again, Gaia explains how she has no purpose in life now that the primes are gone, but the fact that they keep bringing them back up is convincing me that they're going to end up returning. I'm thinking there might be a connection between them and the anomaly that we don't know of, especially because of Becca's appearance last episode. But as I said, they buried the flame, so I guess that's the end of that. Although not necessarily for the commanders. As expected, Clarke is regretting what she said the night before and doesn't want to go through with killing Russell because it was something that happened in a moment of anger over the fact that he killed her mother. I also have to say that I love the visuals this episode, and especially the imagery during this scene, which felt different from other episodes, and also later on in the scenes with Amori, Murphy, and Raven. We actually got a scene of Raven walking in on Murphy and Raven, and it reminded me of when she walked in on Monty and Harper. Like I said before, I liked how the episode focused on Raven, but it also gave more attention to Murphy and Amori, and this is random, but I really liked their outfits this episode. I've actually liked everyone's outfits this season, except for Echo and Gabriel. So Clarke and Indra went to see Russell, who is now inhabited by Shehida, and I don't know how they couldn't realize that it's not him anymore, because Shehida was doing a really bad job at acting like Russell. He was even against Dai now, which he did try to twist to make it sound like he feared death when the moment came, but that's not how Russell felt about it before. Last episode he literally wanted to die. He was begging Clarke to kill him. I honestly hate all the scenes with Jordan and the Prime's followers. They're all so annoying and stupid, and Jordan has just become as annoying as Jasper was for me. But now the Prime followers don't trust Jordan, so they had an argument over that, and then Jordan went to try to convince Shehida to calm down his followers, but instead, Shehida convinced him to stop him from being killed. Anyway, Raven, Murphy, and Amori went to see why there were power outages occurring, and found the dead bodies and realized there was a leak. So now they met up with Clarke and Indra because they needed a Nightblood to go in and fix the problem, for which Clarke and Murphy both volunteered, but it ended up being Amori and Murphy doing it. But they still needed someone to plug the leaks, and Raven wanted it to be someone from Wonkru because she didn't trust the prisoners to do it. This led to the revelation that there is no Heda to all the members of Wonkru, because they started suspecting something was going on since Heda was not the one asking them to do this. Personally, I thought that Clarke was being really stupid during the scene. I usually get annoyed when people hate on her, but in this case, I thought her and Gaia were wrong. Maddie just had to say a few words. I was also surprised that Wonkru found out about Heda being gone this early. But as a result of that, Wonkru has finally split up and they're back to being in different clans. The interesting part about this is that one of the clans seems to actually respect Shehida because he was their greatest warrior, and I think this is going to end up being beneficial to him. But since Raven's plan failed, she had to get help from the prisoners, who we finally got more screen time for, which is what I wanted, especially from Nikki because she's played by Elena Huffman. I loved the Bonnie and Clyde type of relationship that Nikki and Hutch had, and we did end up learning more about him later on. Nikki realized that they were being treated like trash because they're former criminals, even though they've already paid for their crimes, but her boyfriend was more optimistic and agreed to go with Raven, and took a few others with him, which I laughed at because they never agreed to go. Like Kim Shamway said in the promo, this episode was going to challenge Raven, And we start seeing this when she lied to the prisoners about what would happen to them. Emori ended up being the Nightblood that went in to handle the rods, and for a second I thought she might die, but that didn't happen. And there was great chemistry between her and Murphy in that scene. I love the parallels between Memori's relationship to Nikki and Hutch. They're both made up of two people who were seen as less than others, which is why I think Murphy was able to understand them more than Raven did. He's been in their position before, being the disposable one, or the cockroach. I like seeing them kind of bond for a second while Hutch revealed that him and Nikki were murderous bank robbers. The next part of Raven's challenge came from the fact that Hutch and the other prisoners, also Emori, were suffering from the extremely high amounts of radiation, which were even too high for a Nightblood. But Raven ignored it and continued to lie to them because she needed to get the job done, and as a result, Hutch and the other prisoners ended up dead. I really felt bad for Hutch even though we barely knew him. And then Nikki came in and beat up Raven for letting him die. I'm conflicted on how I felt about this because I'm on Nikki's side because it was Raven's fault that the love of her life ended up dead. And I found Raven kind of annoying for a while, but at the same time, Raven didn't fight back because she accepted her mistakes and wanted to suffer for it, which is why she wouldn't let Memori help her. However, I'm glad this storyline happened because Raven has been the only one who's never had to make a hard decision like this. She's always been on her high horse and spent all last season hating on Clarke for doing the same thing, but now she understands what Clarke has had to go through so many times, so I hope they get to talk about this later on. The rest of the Sheheta story this episode was that Jordan convinced the others to let Sheheta speak to his people, but someone shot him during his speech. We got another Klaya scene where Clarke said the line from the trailer about how she's worried that fighting is what they are, because that's what always ends up happening. Also, I really feel like they are setting up Clarke and Gaia to end up together, and I like that. Finally, at the end, there was a plot twist, and it's revealed that this was all Sheheta's plan. He set up Jordan to avoid his execution and to get a cookie. So Sheheta has a permanent body for now, and he's going to be able to use it to his advantage in order to get the Primes to be his followers, as we already saw, and to build an army. But there's also the other clan that still respects him, and the fact that the former Wonkru members only listen to the person who is their commander. So maybe he will end up being the one that's able to unite all of these different groups. But back to the prisoners, I kind of felt like their storyline related to current events in terms of the prison system, and how they're basically treated as the working class who are considered expendable for the upper class, in this case being Raven, Clarke, and all their friends, who might not be living in the castle like the Primes, but they do have a more comfortable lifestyle than the others on their farm. And I think the prisoners can be redeemed because we also don't know what some of their crimes were. They're just assuming that they're all horrible people, because Nikki and Hutch were killers, but that's different from Diosa and McCrary, who were terrorists. And even Diosa was redeemed. Overall, I really felt this episode was not able to keep the momentum of the first episode, which I was worried about. I really liked that episode and was interested in that storyline. And now I think I would prefer to see more of the Anomaly storyline, especially because I feel like one of my worries came true, and I can't really see Russell as Sheheta. So I'm looking forward to the two storylines coming together next episode. I think I will give this episode a 7 out of 10. Well, that's it for this video. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like and subscribe for similar content. I do reviews of this show every week along with Stargirl. Leave your thoughts in the comments and have a good day. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.